What's up, everybody? It's Stephen Williams, founder and president of the creditrepairshop.com. In today's video, we're going to talk about debt collectors. Should you pay those debts? Should you pay those debt collections? Now, let's start straight from the beginning. Straight from the beginning, what you're going to do. When you receive that letter in the mail, now we're going to talk about not if you're getting a summons in the mail. That's in another video that I have. We're talking about the beginning where uh, either the original creditor has came back around for an old debt, or a debt collector is coming around for an old debt. And you get that letter in the mail and it scares you and you're like, oh, I don't remember this bill. Or you might say, oh, I do remember this bill. I thought they forgot about it. You're going to get that in the mail. The first thing you need to look at the who it's from. You'll usually see the collector's name big, and then you'll see the original creditor's name and account off to the side or in the corner. So the first thing that you should do when you get that is you need to look at your state's statute of limitations for contract law and see if it's past statute of limitation. Now, to be past statute of limitations, that meant that the original creditor or the debt collector haven't contacted you, or you haven't made any payments or anything during that period of time. That's how statute of limitations works. It doesn't work if you made a payment or they've been trying to contact you in that period of time, because if they prove that, then that means that they did not violate statute of limitations. The next thing is you need to, once you identify everything that's on the letter, you need to write a response. And in that response, it needs to be, some people say dispute, but it's technically a validation when you're validating an original creditor or debt collector. And what you're going to validate, and you have to do this within 30 days, or in essence, you're saying that the debt belongs to you. So even if a debt doesn't belong to you and you don't respond, by law, you're saying that that debt belongs to you, and then you have to go through more steps to prove that it doesn't belong to you. But let's just stay on track that it does belong to you. You write that validation, and just because it belongs to you does not mean you have to pay it, because they have to still prove that you legally have to pay the debt. And there's various ways that you could do this to be able to get out of paying that debt. The first way we just talked about with statute of limitations. The next way is to do a full validation of the debt, where you're requesting everything about the debt. Now, if the debt, and I'm just looking down at my notes here, you want to send the validation to them, and that's where you're requesting everything about the debt. And then usually they won't respond, or they will respond. If they do respond, you have to make sure that they give you everything about the debt. You have a right to get the original contract. You have a right to look at all of the charges that you had. You have a right for your payment history, the addresses that were attributed to the debt. You need to know if it's a collector that's coming after it, did they assume the debt, or did they get assigned the debt from an original creditor, or are they the new owner of the debt? Because all of that makes a big difference. Regardless of who owns the debt now, assumed or assigned, they have to provide you all of that information. Now, if it's a debt collector that owns the debt now, you need to make them provide you proof that you have to pay them the debt. And you can simply say that in your letter by saying, I don't want to pay you, and then I have to pay the original creditor, so I need something showing that I legally have to pay you. That usually will get people out of paying the debt, because and this is something that I had learned years ago when I went through this with a credit card company, is that when debt collectors buy old credit card debt, they buy it in bulk. And I didn't even know it at the time when I asked for it, but I said, I want you to prove everything that I have to pay you for the debt. And they had this big binder of all of these credit card debts that they purchased. They had blacked out all of them. And then mine had this little line with the credit card number. Technically, that was even a violation, but let's just move forward in with what we have right now. But that was a violation because all they had was a credit card number. They didn't even have my name or anything attached to that document. But so you have a right to get all of that information, and then if they don't provide it, then you have an argument that you do not feel that you have a right to have to pay them. So after you send that validation, you wait for the response, and then if they do not respond, you just need to keep all of that information for future purposes, because what they'll do is they'll sell it or sign it off to another debt collector, and then they'll come back around, and all you have to do is use your documents that you use from that other collection agency to stop that collection agency from coming after you, and they'll stop right away, because they'll be like, that you just I just bought it from you or signed it from you, and you couldn't get it, and now you dump it over to me, and then you didn't even have a legal documentation to get it from them, but you're trying to get me to go do it, to do something illegal. So that's why you want to keep that documentation. I've had to do this several times for my clients where that had happened. So if they provide you all of that information, they give you the original contract, they show you the charges, the payment history, your addresses to make sure that everything was going to the appropriate address. They tell you if they assign, assumed, or they're the new owner, and they have proof of contract if they're the new owner that you have to pay them. Then you have to make a financial decision on, is it better to settle that debt and not have it move up to either go on your credit if it's not already on your credit, or to end up having you go to court where they're going to take this further and have a court summons. And that's a determination that you have to make an educated decision off of the information that I've gave you on how you would need to move forward. So if you ever have any questions or problems, I have a link to a letter that's right below this video that you can use to do some of the validation. You can go to my membership site, and you can download those letters and see how you can at least get this ball rolling if you have collection agencies coming after you for money for old collections. And again, this is Stephen Williams with thecreditrepairshop.com. Thank you, and until next time.